Lawrence County, Kentucky had two hammers drop out of the sky. The Murton brothers. Now, you guys have already seen Jacob's 3 state championships, but now we get to add his brother to the series. Sir, if you would, tell us who you are.
Jairus Murton.
And of course, you are a 2-time state champion from Lawrence County, 2004 and 2005 state champion. This is, of course, your 2004 video. Now, we've got Jacob's side of the story. Kind of tell us, what gets you into wrestling?
Oh, man. So that started at a young age. I think I was probably about 7 years old. And I had a cousin, he was probably about 6 years older, that was wrestling. And, of course, Jake and I were always fighting and wrestling in the house. So, my dad's like, hey, would you guys like to wrestle? In my mind at that time, I'm thinking, man, we're going to like WWE or something, So we're like, all right, let's do it. So he threw us into a tournament, and Jake got second there. I got fourth. And that's kind of how we got going. Then we got into a club, and, from there on out, it was, up into college.
I completely understand. And back, as of this filming, back last year in December, we met with Jacob and done his 3 videos. But earlier in that year, we done his Beast of the East in September, and he gave me like a crate of like 60 those miniature VHS tapes called VHSC. And it's like, man, can you convert these for me? I was like, yeah, of course. No big deal. And I'd put them on here at the house and get up and, go do something else, come back, check them. They finish converting. And a couple of them I'd go back just to watch, just to make sure that like the quality was good, whatever. And there was one in particular. It was Christmas morning. I don't know the year. It had to be in the mid 90s. But Santa Claus brings you guys a home wrestling mat, like one of those 10 by 10, little home squares or whatever. And the camera picks up, and you guys are walking through your house, and it's like already rolled out, already taped and everything. And You guys get on it, and you start doing like spin drills and sit out drills. As soon as you see it, I was like, man, that is great that I brought that up in Jake's video. But it's cool, man, that you guys were able to get in the sport that early and stuck with it all the way through. So you're only in Kentucky for your junior and senior years. You wrestled in Ohio can middle school wrestlers compete in high school when you were in school? How did that work up in?
No, so in Ohio, middle school was its own separate thing. Okay. And then youth was its own separate thing. So basically from, kindergarten, first grade up into 6th grade, you could be on like a club team. So we started wrestling. We started out at LCCY for like a short period of time. And then we went to West NY, and we wrestled there from, for me, 1st grade through 6th grade. Now, I had my up and downs, those first few years. I was a little hefty. Heck, I remember my 5th or 6th grade year, I wrestled 130. And we didn't have a heavyweight, so I'd be wrestling 200-pounders.
Oh my!
So yeah, it was fun. But yeah, so we had that, and then middle school was 7th grade and 8th grade, its own separate thing. And they had like a state tournament at the end of the year and stuff for those that qualified. And then you would go into high school, and then high school is its own separate thing. So you could not compete in high school as a middle schooler in Ohio.
I got you. That is something about Kentucky that I can say is over the years, it's took a effort across the state, but everybody has bought in. Everybody kind of like money. Money's only valuable because we say it's worth, $20 or $100, whatever. The middle school and elementary, there was little pockets across the state that had like their own, they would call it a state tournament or whatever. And people were like, we really need to get everybody on the same page. So like the last probably 7 to 10 years, I guess, there's been a true Kentucky USA Wrestling sanctioned elementary state tournament and a true USA Wrestling Kentucky middle school. And the like 2023 and 2022, we were at the Corbin Arena. 21 and 20, we were at the Pikeville Arena. Before that, it was held at arenas in Louisville. So we do a great job making it a big event, 10 mats. Everybody from the state is represented. It's not people being, petty. We're not doing it because it's this, it's everybody. So that is something about Kentucky wrestling that has come along, is our youth and elementary, middle school programs. And like you guys watching the channel should know that Kentucky middle schoolers can compete in high school. That's David Carr from Woodford County, come to Kentucky as an 8th grader, won a state championship. Mark Hall wrestled at Ryle as a 7th grader. Of course, we know how those guys, I think they turned out all right, don't you? I think Mark Hall and David Carr's wrestling as middle schoolers turned out all right. But how do you place in, do you make it to the Ohio State tournament? Do you place in Ohio? How does that go as those 2 years you were there?
Yeah, so 7th grade, to be honest, I didn't even know about the state tournament in 7th grade. In all honesty, I started wrestling, like I said, I started wrestling 1st grade, but it wasn't until 7th grade that I really was like, man, this is what I want to do. And where I was like, I'm doing it for me, And I ended up going undefeated my 7th grade year all the way up until the last match of the season. Or I'm sorry, not the last match, semifinals. The last tournament, it was called it was a Dodge tournament. And it was, I don't know if it was like a conference, to be honest, or a region. I'm not even sure, but that was basically our last tournament of the year. And that was like the big culminating event. And I lost by 1 point in the semifinals to an 8th grader, and ended up taking 3rd place. So, it was, for me, I was like, heck yeah, that's awesome. I had a good season, Then 8th grade, I went undefeated, my 8th grade season. And then we ended up hearing about the state tournament. So I was like, sure, let's do it. But there was no practicing leading up to it. So it was Jake and I rolling on our mats in the basement to kind of get ready for it. And, I jumped in tournament, and I had returning state champ, Cameron Doggett. This dude, man, he was a beast. Like, no one touched him. He beat everybody. And I drew him first round, and I got beat. And in that match, I ended up hurting my back. But I wrestled my way back through, and then to go in for the 3rd and 4th place match, I had to forfeit, and ended up getting the 6th place in the tournament due to injury. But yeah, and here's the thing, like the week before I wrestled another tournament, and the kid who took 2nd on the other side of the bracket, I was about to fall him and ended up pinning him. And then the kid who got 3rd in a tournament like 2 weeks before that, I beat him twice. So, it's like, man, luck of the draw.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
All right. Now, so what about high school? Like, Ohio is and it's no secret, Ohio, the wrestling is, I'd say on a whole, a little bit better than Kentucky's. There's more teams than, like, more wrestling teams. If you want Kentucky, it's classed. I think there's 3 divisions or 3 classes in Ohio, however they say it. So, like, do you make it to the state tournament as a 9th and 10th grader? Do you place? How does that go?
Yeah, so I had my freshman year of high school. Let's see. So we have sectionals, then we have districts, and then state. So at sectionals, I was in the semifinals. Was beating the kid pretty solid. Picked him up, went to return him. He tried to do a Granby, landed on his head.
Oh,
I got disqualified. So, yeah, that one hurt. That sucked.
I can believe that.
Yeah, so his dad ran out there, was like, stay down, you won. Yeah. So I wrestled back, took 3rd place. And then, I'll tell you what. So I wrestled 119 my freshman year, Um, I had the returning state champ first round at districts, Ricky Dubell, who was undefeated state champ the year before. That weight class was stacked. There was like 2 state champs in that weight class, didn't even place a state that year. It was so stacked. So yeah, I lost in the match to basically place in the tournament to go to state. I lost in that round. So yeah, I didn't make it to state my freshman year. Had a couple good tournaments. I placed in Top Gun, took 6th place at Top Gun.
I think that video was actually in the Top Gun video for that year. I believe was in that stack that Jacob for you guys. So.
And Top Gun, man, that was a tough tournament. We had some good kids in my weight class that year. I wrestled back and forth between 125, 119.
That would have been 2002, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that would have been 2002.
Just so we can kind of get a bearing here, if you wrestled 119 or 125 in 2002, let's just say you were in Kentucky. You would have had to go up against Tyler Baldwin, who won, or Joey Hagerdorn from Campbell County, and both those videos are on the channel. So when you get done with this, you can go back and watch and see could I have won it in Kentucky? You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of cool that we can kind of fantasy book, if you will. Tyler and Joey both I've met, kind of become friends with, and got to know really well. So maybe. It's too bad we never got to, what could have been, right?
Yeah. 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 And, here's the thing with wrestling. You can have 2 guys wrestle one day, next day could be a complete different outcome.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You are exactly right. And it's, especially, you're 14, 15 years old. God only knows where your thoughts are. Did your girlfriend break up with you, or who knows? You may go out and stink to join up or whatever, just over whatever. How we were all in high school. We all know how sometimes our emotions, no matter, it can be the smallest little thing, get the best of us. So, sophomore year, how does that go?
Yeah, sophomore year, I bumped up. I went to 130.
That would have been 03, correct?
Yes, that would have been 2002, 2003. Yep. And I can't remember what my record was. I had a solid season. I won, sectionals. I won sectionals, and then districts. I lost in the round to go to state by 1 point. Oh man, it was a tough one. So that year, 130. Every kid I lost to was a 1 or 2 point match, and everyone I lost to was a senior and graduated. And they were all 1-2 point matches, and it was like I was right there on the edge, And I'll tell you what, though, I think that year is what set me up, because when I lost that last match, the kid, he started out, he got a pretty strong lead in the first period and a half. And then that second, third period, I came back and was just taken to him, but I just ran out of time. He had too big of a lead. Ran out of time. And that one hurt, and I was like, man, I'm not letting this happen again. And I busted my butt between my sophomore and junior year. That's where I was like, yeah, I want this.
And that you actually answered a question, but real quick before we move on, in 2003, the 130-pound state champion in Kentucky was Derek Fosbender from Rowell. So I have that video. We haven't met with Derek yet. So just kind of like I said, for those of you that want a fantasy book, because we'll talk about a little bit why I'm doing that a little bit later in the 05 video. But you come to Kentucky in 2004. You come, of all places, people are like, how in the world did they end up in Lawrence County? Of all the places, how did they end up there? So you come to Lawrence County and you walk in and there's no wrestling program, or so we've been told. Like there wasn't like in the team established, and basically they make the team for you guys, for you and Jake.
So Jerry Whalen was the coach. They had a really small team. Man, maybe not even a handful of kids. I think we had, one of them was our cousin,
Mm-hmm.
and but yeah, I think there may have been like 5 or 6 of us on the team, and we came in over, I think it was like Christmas break or something, or it might have been Thanksgiving. It was like right before Thanksgiving break. We came down, we visited my grandmother, and we came in there, we wrestled with the team, and then we went back to Ohio and then made a decision that, yep, we're going to move to Kentucky. So we moved over Christmas break. What was that, 2003, 2004?
Yeah.
And, so really our first friends and in contact with anyone was, over Christmas break, going to practices and stuff with Jerry. And, yeah, it was good. It was good. But yeah, we had a small team, and I think he was contemplating even, stepping away from wrestling at the time and stuff. So it was great. It was great.
Yeah. And of course, you mentioned Jerry Whalen. Today, as of the filming, we're filming this on a Thursday in October. Today's his birthday. So, Coach, we know you're going to watch this. Happy birthday. I guess it'll be a couple days before we get it out, but happy birthday belated. So you come to Lawrence County, basically, to hear, Coach Whalen talk. He knew that you guys were like, oh my God, we have got lightning has fell out of the sky, basically. Thunder and lightning has come from the sky here, and nobody really knows anything about you guys. This was before the era of, cell phones. People had phones, but we didn't have social media. If you were lucky, you had like ICQ, MSN Messenger, one of them, and you could talk to whoever. But the world, the information didn't travel as fast. So you guys moved to Kentucky. I think I've racked my brain since we set this up, and I mentioned it also in Jacob's video, but I feel pretty confident that I refereed you guys like your first or second tournament here, because I was this is the year you guys come to Kentucky was also my first year officiating, 03-04 season, and I was like, I'm confident that I refereed your guys' first event here. So you come to Kentucky as a junior, and you're kind of unknown. What are we thinking about Kentucky wrestling when you move here?
To be honest, I wasn't sure. Didn't really know what to expect. Because we had just started the wrestling season in Ohio and then moved. And I think I wrestled in one tournament in Ohio before we moved to Kentucky. And I started the season at 130. My coach had me drop down, and I was like, I can't do this. I honestly, before we moved to Kentucky, was contemplating, like, man, I just don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Because I was like, the cut, and I was like, man, I don't want to be cutting this kind of weight. And so I wrestled the first tournament at 130, and that was at Columbus DeSales. And I won that tournament at 130. The next week was Ironman. As we were practicing, Jake and I were partners, and we were practicing, and I can't remember, we got into something, and I twisted my knee and ended up stretching ligaments in my knee. So I ended up actually sitting out for about a month. So kind of moving to Kentucky was almost perfect, because it gave me a chance to heal up. So during that time, I bounced back up to 150 pounds and was lifting and just working out, and we got to Kentucky, and I was like, you know what, if we're doing this, I'm not cutting weight like that again. I'm going to go to a weight that's kind of good. And like I said, started getting in the room. Jake and I went to, I think it was Woodford County Invitational. We weren't eligible to wrestle, so we just went out there and, drilled and everything. And that was kind of standard. We drilled all the time, and it was, I almost want to call it like an art, because it was like we would drill and there was no stopping. It was, you hit the takedown, The other guy hits stand up, hands are already on, and next person's going. And I remember when we were doing that, there were some people came over like, man, who you got? You guys college wrestlers or something? We're like, no, we just moved here,
Yeah.
So yeah, we were just kind of trying to figure things out. But I'll tell you the one thing that I tell everyone, the difference between Kentucky wrestling and Ohio was super technical and kids were tough. But man, when I came to Kentucky, it was like you'd go to do a fake, they weren't reacting. They were like right into you. And it was like, oh man, all right, we got to change the style up, know. So I'll tell you, Kentucky wrestling was just like in your face. It's tough. It was a fight, where Ohio, a lot of technique and stuff. Kentucky, it was a fight, so I had to do a lot of adjusting to the way I wrestled.
And especially here in Region 8, where you guys were in Lawrence County, Eastern Kentucky, I mean, it's just rough. I mean, that's just all. There's more roughness than there ever will be technique down on this end of the state. But 2004 though, man, you're a junior, you settle on 140 pounds, which was, I mean, we'll talk a little bit after the video about it, but I think 140 pounds was the absolute perfect weight for you. And you guys, of course, are going to see why. But to the point about Woodford County, I mean, there might be the Ryle Raider Rumble, the Woodford County Invitational, and like the Dragon at South Oldham. Those are three of like your we can kind of get a gauge on who's going to place at the state tournament. If you place good here, you place at all three of them, chances are you're going to make it on the podium. If you win all three, there's a very good possibility that the people that done the ranking system back there are going to have to take notice and be like, oh, wow, who? You won all three. Well, you've got to be, in the top two, top three, depends on your record, all that kind of stuff. But 2004, 140 pounds, junior. The first round, you're wrestling Boomer Brown. I think that's a great name, Boomer Brown from Tate's Creek. You win that by a fall, 3 minutes, 53 seconds. Second round, you're wrestling Jonathan Dale from Oldham County. You win that by a fall, 1 minute, 48 seconds, and Jonathan goes on to get 8th place that year. You get to the quarters, you're wrestling Chris Purcell from St. Xavier. You win that by a fall in 1 minute and 5 seconds, and Chris gets 7th place. The semifinals, you're wrestling Thomas Campbell from Fort Campbell, and you win a decision, a 7-3 decision, and Thomas goes on to get 3rd place. So three matches earlier in the tournament, 3 pins. You get to the semis, and you have to, I'm gonna say squeak one out, but you win a 4-point decision. I mean, there's a big gap in Kentucky between that quarterfinals and semifinal round. A big gap, the talent gap is huge right there. So coming off the mat, knowing you are in the finals, first year in Kentucky, in the finals, what are we thinking?
Yeah, it was honestly, it was almost like a dream, and to be honest, if I can back up just a pinch.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thomas Campbell. So I had been eyeballing that and trying to figure out, all right, who's this guy? Because I was looking at the ranking stuff going up to it, and he was ranked number 1 pretty much all season. And I think as we were kind of closing towards the state tournament and stuff, I think I was ranked number 2. He was ranked number 1. And I was like, all right, man, I want to figure out who this guy is and everything. So I had a lot of reservation in that semifinals match with him, and was like, I'm just going to wrestle a smart match. I'm just going to try not to make mistakes. I'll keep it close if I have to, but I knew he was a tough kid. He was strong. That's the one thing I remember about him was he was very strong. So I tried to just wrestle smart in that match and just get the points when I could, and not do anything stupid, right, and get myself caught. So I was totally happy with walking away with that score, and I was just seeking the win,
And that's what people, done so many of these now, we're up in the 220 that we've done, is doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be technical. As long as the end of that match, you either 1 point or a pin, as long as you get your hand raised, that's all the record book's going to show, right?
Yep.
And something too, a little, we like to, I love to interject like little tidbits and factoids. Fort Campbell, of course, is a Kentucky military base. It's an Army base. But what's crazy about this is when the land was established for Fort Campbell, the Kentucky side, they got the post office. So that makes it technically a Kentucky base. Well, the actual high school is in the property of Tennessee. So I think that's the only high school in the state, or in the entire country, that is listed as a one state school, but the actual school building is in another state.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
You know that, crowd. So it's kind of cool. And something too about Fort Campbell is so many kids pass through there year after year after year because, you know, whoever their parents transfer into the base, they do however many, you know, do their tour there, they move right out. There's Fort Campbell back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, even the 80s. They had a lot of state champions down that way, but I'm not sure if, and you know, we got a lot of friends on the coaching staff down there, Anthony. So, like I said, Fort Campbell, man, they got a good historic program. And like I said, it's kids passing through. But like, I just wanted to interject that little Fort Campbell tidbit of knowledge. But you get to the finals, you're wrestling Andrew Kohler from Rowell out of Northern Kentucky. Now, we're not going to tell you how the match ends. You can kind of figure it out if you can, you know, go from earlier trends. But it's under the lights, the music, the glow sticks, you know, the arena's dark. You win, or you're back there backstage behind in the practice mat area, and the face-off's getting ready to happen. What's going through your head?
Man, I remember my nerves. I was just like, I was pumped. I was excited. I couldn't stand still. I couldn't sit. There's no way I could sit.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I was back there pacing. I was back there, you know, shadow drilling a little bit and moving,
and of course,
bouncing.
And of course, you've got, you know, your practice partner. You've got your brother with you. He's, I think, 125 pound this year, and you guys can go back there. And I have to imagine you guys are probably getting, you know, the side eye, like, you know, what are these guys? You know, how'd they get here? You know, where Lawrence County? Well, you know where that's at. Lawrence County. What's going on here? So, but has it been a while since you've seen your state finals video?
It has. I was actually just talking to someone today, and I think it's probably been since like my freshman, sophomore year of college since I've seen it. So yeah, we're talking, man, probably, you know, 15 to 16 years or so.
I got you, man.
Yeah.
Tell you what, let's not keep you in suspense anymore. We're gonna pull up the video. You guys are seeing what we're seeing. We're live here at the dungeon. If you never was at the dungeon, never got to make it to a state tournament at the dungeon, I've said it in every video, and I'll keep saying it. This was the best environment, the best atmosphere the KHSAA ever produced. There in the arena, one mat, lights on the mat, dark. Everybody's got their glow sticks, beach balls, footballs, toilet paper rolls, you name it. If it's something that can be thrown, people were throwing it in stands. But it was just a special place. And of course, the dungeon no longer exists. It was demolished to make room in Frankfort. Also the big hotel was imploded. But man, I'm ready to go. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Here we go. He's going to cut right into the match here. There you are, of course, in the red singlet top, white and black there on the other side looking at us.
At the 140-pound weight class, from Lawrence
This is just great to watch, man. I can
Yeah.
tell you. I can tell you've got the you're hyped up just by the way you're moving.
Oh yeah. Well, and like you said earlier, I just watched Jake win state, so
Yep.
I was pumped.
So right here, what's your go-to? What are we looking to do here from like a tie-up or from neutral?
So from right there, I was either going to go for a barrel roll there, but
Nice lift.
yep, I would. That was I used to like hitting the shuck or getting that lift. That's where I scored a lot was from a takedown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll tell you when I was going for the pin as quick as I could every match.
Yep. And for the most part, this is the first time that the entire state as a whole is getting to watch you and Jacob wrestle is here at the state tournament.
Yeah, because there was a lot of kids I hadn't seen at all before this match.
You've got the eyes of the state on you. Is this kid from Lawrence County as good as everybody says? We're getting ready to find out. And Jacob wins his by a tech fall. And there it is. You win yours by a pin. 1 minute.
So that was my go-to on top, even in Ohio. Like once I got that bar in, once I felt that and got it, I was like, all right, I'm going with it, you know.
And there you are, of course, getting your hand raised, man. Excellent performance. I mean, this is the state finals, man. You get a pin in a minute. Just absolute animal. Of course, we have the medal ceremony as well. And that,
yeah, I just
Jonathan
remember
Gale there on the 8th place platform. You had to wrestle him. And you had to wrestle Chris Purcell as well.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm not knocking Ohio in any way. I got a lot of friends in Ohio, but Kentucky is not classed. It's not divisioned or anything. It's if you win it, if you're the state champion individual or state champion as a team, that's it. I mean, it's one tournament, one champion.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I loved the most about Kentucky was when you went and wrestled, you were the legit state champ in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Ohio was divisions, you know.
Yep. And there's Campbell from Fort Campbell you had to wrestle.
Yep.
And here you are, getting ready to come up. There you are, man, getting your medal in your bracket.
Yeah, I can remember standing there being like, is this really happening? Like, is this real right now?
I completely understand. I get it, man. It wasn't very long, but does it play out the way you remember besides you winning?
It seemed quicker, you know?
Yeah.
I remember in the match, you know, it seemed a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I would go out there, like I said, I was trying to get the pin as quick as I could. Every match I wrestled, that was my goal, was to get the pin. And a lot of people never really got to see me wrestle a whole lot because I'm not saying this in any way, but I was a pinner, you know, so a lot of my matches didn't go long. So a lot of people were kind of like, yeah, is he really legit, you know? But yeah, that was just the way I wrestled.
Listen, man, I get it. Now, you're a two-timer, as we mentioned earlier, 2004 and 2005. We're going to wrap the 2004 up here, and we're going to pick up your senior season, of course, in 2005. So we will see you guys in 2005.